thinking, they've had 3 attacks in the first half, scored 3 goals. Our defending was unbelievably poor for the 3 goals. But when you look at the overall performance, when you're in a game and you see the 3-0 scoreline, you think, well, you've been under the cosh, you've been battered. More possession, more shots. That means more chances. We weren't clinical enough, but the goalkeeper did make a couple of magnificent saves. We hit the underside of the bar. Once hit the goalkeeper from Lucas's back heel. Quinny's put one over the bar. But the manner of the 3 goals and the timings as well, we won about that quite a bit. The first one and the third one, the timings. First one's from our free kick, and then you're getting at half time, you should be 2-0, and as disappointed as we are, you're still in the game. And concede one in added time. That was the one that really did us.
Are we hearing more excuses from Nigel Clough? Are we really just a bang average team that rode a crest of a wave last season and are now being caught out for what we are? Have we got a team packed with players who are past their sell-by dates? Is it the system that's going wrong? And does Nigel Clough need to take more of a deeper look at himself after his post-match comments saying that he picked the wrong team? Tonight, the Mansfield Matters podcast delves into investigation mode after a horror show at Harrogate, which again left fans frustrated and wondering where our next goal's coming from, where our next win's coming from, and whether or not we're in for another season of League 2 mediocrity. Are we being over-dramatic? I actually can't put my finger on it. I think there's a fine balance at the moment between Mansfield Town getting it right and Mansfield Town doing the inevitable Mansfield Town thing of having something on the cusp of being good and then pulling it away from you. Let us know your thoughts as always in the comments. This is an open forum for you to have your say on your team. It's for the fans, it's by the fans. It's the Mansfield Matters podcast. It's okay, you can look now, don't worry. Saturday is over and done with. You don't need to worry about it again. Oh no, wait, we're going to talk about it tonight on the Mansfield Matters podcast, aren't we? Let's get all the ranting out of the way tonight here on the Mansfield Matters podcast. Hello and welcome to the show. Thanks as always for joining us, for you to have your say on your team. Of course, tonight we will be keeping half an eye on all things not Senior Cup, as the Stags, a very strong Stag side it turns out tonight as well, are currently taking on Notts County. After 35 minutes, they are 3-1 up at Meadow Lane with goals so far from Rhys Oates, from Kellen Gordon, and from Jason Law as well. James Gale has also had one flagged for offside. If you missed it earlier on, the Stags starting lineup tonight: Scott Flinders, Kellen Gordon, John Joe O'Toole, George Cooper, Lewis Page, Charlie Carter, Kieran Wallace, Jordan Bowery, Jason Law, Rhys Oates and James Gale. So a very strong Stag side out at Meadow Lane tonight. 35 minutes gone in that one. The Stag lead by 3-1. We'll keep you up to date with that as the podcast goes on tonight. Let's introduce our panel to find out who else is going to be joining us to talk all things Mansfield Town. Let's go from Mansfield to Edwinstowe and say good evening to Clive Parkin.
Good evening, everybody.
Good to see you as always. And let's go from Edwinstowe to Sutton in Ashfield with everybody's favourite bin man, Alan Wilson.
Good evening, Craig and Clive. Good evening, everybody.
Or should I say everybody's favourite Santa at this time of year? He's back in his Santa suit. There we go. Ho, ho, yes, he is. Well, if it was a child's wish, Alan, on Saturday afternoon for Mansfield to get 3 points at Harrogate, was Santa having a day off?
Yeah, when I saw the team, I just automatically thought there's got to be injuries. And there's got to be people either feeling ill, they've gone down with a bug or whatever. So I just didn't feel comfortable with the team. You know, there were the players that, in my opinion, obviously, if there'd have been others that had been fit, they wouldn't have been playing. And it proved right in them because them 3 goals were terrible. But like Nigel said in his interview afterwards, we had plenty of chances to put the ball in the net, but we didn't.
It was a very frustrating afternoon all round, Clive. And Alan mentioned there, you know, when he saw the team news, he was a little bit fearful. I think we were very, very similar, weren't we? I think we knew it'd be a different test to what it was at Rochdale. And it just seemed, again, like another slow Mansfield Town 11.
Yeah, I mean, we have a bogey team there. There's no question about that. But you shouldn't. That shouldn't be a reason for expecting ourselves to lose. And I went to that game thinking we've actually got something to prove here. We ought to be trying to turn these buggers over. They're not a good team. They're languishing at the foot of the table. If ever we were going to beat them, that's the time to do it. But Mansfield's team, when it's on its top form and everybody's available, can beat anybody in this league. But unfortunately, we're not in that position very often. And we're not a team that can get a result having shipped 3 goals. So at half-time, we may as well got on the bus and come back because there was no way back from that. Cloughies, I think, has been a little bit generous in saying we had plenty of attacking options. We had a couple of decent shots and their keeper handled them magnificently. But beyond that, we weren't a team to admire. We had a better second half, no question about that. And some of the substitutions actually were beneficial. But the biggest problem we've got is our back line. The back line that played at Harrogate, let's put it that way. I can't imagine an older 3 than those. I can't imagine a slower 3 than those. And they were just woeful, absolutely woeful. Would have been better putting 3 traffic cones there. Anyway, that's my rant over. The midfield was anonymous and we didn't have an attacking force. Now, does that mean we had a bad day? Yes, we bloody well did. Does it mean that Clough picked the wrong team and the wrong formation? Yes, it bloody well does.
I had to really stop myself from biting my lip at the end of the game, Alan, when he comes out and says, you know what, I probably picked the wrong team. Well, it was bleeding well obvious you picked the wrong team. And I think he's been doing it for a long, long time. I just felt like it was an empty excuse.
I'm going to say, well, apart from the injuries that he got, that obviously we don't get to know about before the kickoff, you can see the team and you think, well, why has he played him? Or, Kellen Gordon not quite fit enough. But Reece Oates isn't fit enough. He's nowhere near fit enough, but you brought him on. Now, why didn't Gordon play right back to have some semblance? Lewis Page played reasonably well when he came on. Why didn't he start with him? Because if he starts struggling or whatever, you can always change it at half time. But it's
Alan, sorry to interrupt you, mate. I'd like to know why our team is so prone to being unfit. I'm not talking about general fitness. I'm talking about either injuries or illnesses. And they pop up on the day of the match as well. He has to change his team as they're coming down the tunnel. What is wrong with this squad? Are they being overtrained? Are they just physically not up to the mark? I've never known such a sickly bunch of brittle players in my life.
I think things like that happen, Clive. I mean, last January, I had a spate of injuries myself. One of them was my fault, but the others weren't.
I don't pay to watch you play football, though, Alan, do I?
No, that's true. But
I would.
I
would.
I'm just trying to, look on the other side. Because like you said earlier on, when we've got a full squad, a full team out, of the players we thought that would be in their positions, we will take some beating and that will come again. But until such times, we need to cope.
When we've got Harbottle in the centre of the back there to add a little bit of youth and pace, and we've got 2 dynamic wing backs, then the 3 works well. But in the absence of those, we shouldn't have played a 3. We should have played a 4.
I know that. You know that.
Well, I don't see how Clough, with all his experience, can't see that.
I think with Nigel Clough, a lot of it boils down to, and I mean this in the nicest way possible, the Clough stubbornness. It's historic and it's true. And the whole reason why we are setting up in a 3 in the first place is because Nigel Clough wants to be Port Vale. He wants to be Forest Green. He wants to be the sides that bossed the league last season in terms of stats, in terms of winning games, and in terms of managing it. And for some reason, he thinks we've got this personnel that's so fluid, that's so flexible. It's like Play-Doh. You can manipulate it into different bits, mold it into different shapes. But the reality of the situation is absolutely wrong. We've not got this manipulation. What we have got is we've got, in some respects, players who are too scared to say, no, I don't want to play centre-half. I don't want to play wing-back. What they say is, yes, Gaffer, I'd like to play for you, please, so I don't get transferred to another club. Please play me. I'll play anywhere. Please, sir, please pick me. I'll play left wing-back.
I must say, you can't argue with that, though, Craig, to a certain degree, because otherwise they're going to be either left on the bench or sat in the stand, and they're not going to get a game.
But that is not the way to run a football club, to
I
manage
agree.
a football club. I've been watching the Salford documentary over the last couple of nights, and it's towards the back end of last season. And again, their thing is they want promotion and they demand promotion every single season. And when they don't get it, they sack a manager, but they don't change the back structure. And it's such a toxic environment. I don't think we've got a toxic environment. I think we've got a pressured environment, and I think we've got this stubborn environment. And this whole thing about we're missing X, Y, and Z, it's not fair to label it that way, because we've got the reality of the situation is on Saturday at Harrogate, we had the personnel to go and win that game. We just set it up wrong, and I think we've got to start accepting that from a managerial and a coaching point of view, and saying we had an identity last season which got us to where we were. And we've completely lost that now. We're going to hold our hands up and say, yeah, we tried something at the start of the season. It worked for a little bit, but it's clear now, as things have progressed, as things have turned out with illness, injury, whatever, it's not working. So we're going to go back to our identity. But it seems to me, Clive, like there is a damn right refusal to do it.
I think you're right about the stubbornness. I think if you're on form and your decisions are being successful, then you can be as stubborn as you like, and I don't have a problem with that. But when things are starting to unravel, and they are, I don't think we should be suicidal about this. We're still in with a decent. We're still in a decent position in the league, and we're only a sniff away from being back in the hunt. But we do need to turn some of these daft situations around. And shipping 3 goals like we did is no way to see us make any progress this season. I just think it's as simple as this. Away teams, they watch us like we watch other away teams. I assume that's what our assistant manager does, because he's never at the ground. But they know now that just lump it over the top, get past their fullbacks. They are slow, you'll beat them, get behind them, and that's all these teams are doing now. And if you look at the goals we've shipped in the last half a dozen games, well, more than half of them have not been well constructed. They've just lumped it past us, run onto it quickly, and we've been left exposed. By the time our centre backs have turned around and come back towards the goal, by then the ball's in the back of the net. It's embarrassingly slow. I think me and Alan would do a better job. That's how bad it is.
Keep your comments coming in. Have your say on your team. Let's go through a few that have already come in. Adam says Ronaldo is available. How well can he defend? Knowing,
Cloughies put him in goals.
Roger says the bogey team Harrogate strike again. I don't like that. Bogey team doesn't matter. We make teams bogey teams because it's a psychological thing. We should not have let that happen. Same with last season when we went there. We shouldn't have let that happen either in either of the two games. We are a bog standard League 2 team, says Roger. That's about it, really. We won't go up, I'm sure, but we certainly won't go down. And Jamie says, I worry for Saturday. Wednesday have got loads of pace. Let's delve into this a little bit more, because I think one thing, Alan, for me, which is becoming clear at the moment is, I've said it for a long time, we are an average League 2 side who were on a crest of a wave last season, and with a little bit of luck, a little bit of momentum, a little bit of togetherness, moved forward on this crest of a wave and got to where we were. We were found out on a number of occasions last season, but fortunately, because of the momentum, it didn't cost us too much. What we've done this season is I don't think we've recruited properly to get the right people in place to continue that. And we've not started afresh. You look at some of the games at the back end of last season. I remember being at Tranmere alongside your good self last season, shipping goals for fun late on. We played with this attacking flair, at least last season when we were in that crest of a wave, with the exception of Wembley. When we lost games narrowly. We lost games by giving it a fight. What we have lost now is 11 players on the pitch who look like they give a shit.
Yeah, well, see, it puts you in an awkward position, because I don't totally agree with that, and I don't totally not agree with it, if you know what I mean.
By the
Last
way,
year,
just trying to
last-
stir things. By the way, just trying to stir things up.
yeah,
Don't
last year
necessarily agree with my own statement, but you know what I mean.
we didn't have Oatsy injured. We didn't have Macca injured. And they are kingpins of this team. If they were firing on all cylinders and we hadn't got any injuries, I think we'd be seeing a totally different state of affairs of where we are in the league. But
Alan.
these things, just a minute, Clive, let me finish. These things happen. And as such as they are happening, let's get it right before we move on. We've got to, like I said earlier on, we've got to cope with what we've got. And I agree to a certain point what Craig's saying about, we haven't got the right players, or the right system, whatever you want to call it.
I feel like I need to clarify what I said, by the way, when I said that the players don't care. Of course they care. What I mean by that is last season we go a goal down and straight away it was right, come on then lads, and we'd zip 6 or 7 passes together. We'd have a couple of shots at goal, but there isn't that this season. We lack the attacking flair. We lack that fight in us. It's almost like we get punched, we stay down.
I just don't think we've got the team to do that at this present time, in my opinion.
What I was going to add, Alan, is you're right. We didn't have Oates missing. We didn't have Macca missing last season. But they are key players. Yeah, these are key players. We've all accepted the key players. I'm sure Clough will accept their key players. Why then, with the recruitment, have they not tried to make cover for those places? Instead, they've just bought a ramshackle mishmash of midfield players. And I just think the recruitment is open to criticism. I don't pretend to be better than the recruitment team we've got, but I get the impression that what happens is a phone call goes out to Burton Albion and they say, it's Mansfield here. Have you got any players out of form? And ideally anybody that's cropped, because we like them. Thank you very much. That's probably exaggerating the situation, but I think that well's run a bit dry now. So I think
very tongue in cheek.
Of course, the recruitment needs to be better than it has been, and I don't think it was the right thing to have a load of midfielders assuming they could play in every different position. You can't be chalk. You can't be chalk, cheese, and chocolate at the same time. And I think, go on.
Oh no, I was going to carry finish your point. So I was going to say about the latest from the county game. So carry.
That's okay. Well, all I was going to finish up by saying is, yes, if we understand that these key positions are vital to the success on the field, then surely it would have been a wise investment to make sure we got those key positions covered, because people do get injured.
In far better news, we have just scored a fourth at Notts County. No idea who scored it. The tweet reads as follows. Mansfield extend their advantage in the closing minutes of the first half after a scramble in the box. It was turned into the back of the net by a visiting player. So we don't even know our own players. But there you go. Anyway, let's go back to the I'll say first team, the matters from Saturday and the debate which we're currently in. Keep your comments coming in. I agree, we haven't got that recruitment right. And it's the same as last January. I think, realistically, last January, we got somewhat lucky in our recruitment. If we deeply analyse it, we were put on a high by securing a player who, at the time, in John Joe O'Toole, was a star player for us. Completely different player this season. Needs to shave his hair off, and then we'll get the O'Toole that we know and love back. We then didn't really add much, and then we got, the surprise edition, the fluke edition, like winning 20k on the lottery, when you think you've won a tenner, of Matty Longstaff coming in, who added a bit of name clout to it. And then, of course, Jamie Murphy as well, who came and did a bit of a favour.
And Ryan Stirk.
And we had Ryan Stirk from the start of the season, I think, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. And Ryan Stirk, of course, last season as well. But I think, what we had last season was in January was a short-term fix. What we failed to do was we're in a really good position now. Let's get players in who we can then look at in the summer and progress it on. We took one step forward in January to get a good squad with some deep cover, which we needed at times last season. And then in the summer, it doesn't feel like we've done it. We've added more players into midfield, which was the last area we needed to add in any part of our squad whatsoever. We haven't recruited defenders properly, and we relied on playing one striker in Rhys Oates. We have not done our job properly, and I'm completely with you, Clive, that the recruitment nowhere near good enough. And if it's not strengthened in January when it is clear that we cannot survive on an 18-man squad or whatever Nigel Clough wants to put on it. If we fail to do so in January, then we might as well say that we are not a team who is capable of pushing for the top three, pushing for the playoffs. We'll become a team that may occasionally flirt with the playoffs, but in reality, we're a mid-table side. Invest.
Well, it's clear that we have players that keep getting injured. So if you've only got 18 or 19 to start with, you're never going to have the depth of squad you need. And whether I agree that these people shouldn't be injured or not is irrelevant. They are injured and therefore can't be chosen. And then you're going to have players who go out of form, and don't deserve to be chosen to play. But with the circumstances that Clough has made for himself, he has very little choice. If Akins is out of form, he still has to play him. And the poor lad gets dog's abuse for his performances when he's playing well. Never mind when he has a really bad game. So I think and Hartigan don't even ask me what his role in the game is. He's supposed to be an expert deliverer of a free kick. Yet to see that, but anyway,
never takes him, does he? He's never allowed to take him. He always gets.
And if you've got 19 or so players in the first team squad, you've got some out injured, some will be out of form for any. They're going to get the occasional suspension, and you've got one poor lad who can't get picked for love nor money.
Yes, captain.
And never lets us down, and he's captain today down at Meadow Lane.
Yeah, and also has scored today down at Meadow Lane as well in Jason Law.
And Gale scored again. He had a hat trick in the previous round, if I understand correctly. Why wasn't he brought in to replace Oates, or at least give him the chance to go for it? I know it was a bit of a longer term investment. I know we've signed him on a longer contract. Both very good things, by the way. But there are times you just have to bring things forward. What could it have cost us to put him at centre forward?
I have to say, as soon as Rhys Oates was, injured, and we knew we were facing a bit of time without him, and then Will Swan gets the bug that he gets, Alan, it does baffle me as why Nigel Clough then decided to stick with Ollie Hawkins at centre half and didn't whack him straight back up top, because he doesn't need to be playing centre half. All right, maybe on Saturday you could argue it in terms of personnel being unavailable. Clough says that Hewitt, pulled out of training on Friday, so didn't want to risk him. Personally, I'd rather risk him and have to take him off than bring him on. I think that makes more logistical sense with 5 subs. But the point I'm making is we've got enough players in the building to be adaptable at the back and to still be solid enough at the back to alleviate the problems up front. We're leaking at the back because we've got too many slow players, but we're only leaking at the back because we've got sod all in attack. Hey, that rhymes. Might put that in a ditty.
I'm just wondering, in the wherever George Cooper's playing, Kettering, is it in his contract, or the loan agreement that he stays there and he can't come back? Because George Cooper would have.
I don't know. Yeah,
George Cooper could have come back.
Yeah, and he's again playing tonight alongside O'Toole. I think he's a tremendous talent. George Cooper's another one like Jason Law who deserves an opportunity, but. Again, I was pleased at the start of the season to get him out and get him game time, and he gets regular game time.
That's what they need.
Yeah, plays week in, week out, 90 minutes.
Circumstances, get him back.
Yeah, that's what the recall clause is there for. You can always loan him back out again to non-league clubs. That's how non-league pyramid works. But hey, what do we know? We're just 3 blokes who are sitting here talking about football. We don't get paid to make the managerial decisions. No, we pay to watch it.
Frustrated by them.
Where the money gets. I'm just trying to cause.
Yeah, we don't know what goes on behind the scenes, do we? We don't know what budgets are. We don't know this. We don't know that. And we have got our own opinions
on that subject, Alan. You get to a game in Harrogate, and you're thinking, why isn't Hewitt playing? Why is he's on the bench? Why isn't he playing? Now, it'd been nice to know the circumstances. I'm not suggesting you should write to the opposing team manager and tell him what the situation is, but it really isn't. To me, he was the best player on the park when he came on. He's been the best player for us week in, week out this season, in my opinion. He's certainly player of the season as far as I'm concerned. And we miss him. He was the one person with a degree of fluidity and pace. And he makes a decent wing back when everything else is normalised. And I just felt that there must have been a good reason. I'm sure there was a good reason why he didn't start him, but he brought him on later. On the subject of substitutions, he should not, in my opinion, have brought Oates on. All that could have happened in that situation was Oates get injured. He was never going to rectify the 3-0 scoreline. That would have been unexpected. And my view is, you bring him back into football like tonight in a game like that. You don't bring him back when you're playing a physically strong team. By the way, they were a very small team and much stronger than our big lads. But
I think I know the answer to why he brought Oates on, to be honest, Clive. I think he brought him on to try and sweeten the travelling support.
To appease the crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's nothing wrong with trying to do that either. But that's never been his attitude in the past. He's always taken the view that I do the right things because I'm a professional manager, not because I want to keep people happy. Well, if that's true, that's true, and I go along with that. But I'm just thinking about the team we got. I mean, during this awful game, we had Perch. I love Perch to death, but his legs have gone.
Yeah.
And he should now only be a bench warmer, in my opinion. Bring him on when required. We've got the Mad Irishman. He hasn't got a match in him anymore. So we can only expect him to give us an hour. So why put him on at the start? I don't understand that. I really don't understand that. And, we had... I'm going to sound like I don't like the lad. I just think Ollie Hawkins is a strange animal. He's neither fish nor fowl in my world. He's not. I don't think he's a dynamic centre forward. I think he's a finisher with his head and occasionally with his feet, but he needs a level of service. Now he can get that service from free kicks and things. So I can see why the gaffer keeps him in the back line, because we're a bit thin there, and he can always be deployed for free kicks and set pieces. But as a central defender, he's great at anything that's in the air coming at him. Anything coming any other direction on the floor or to his right or his left, he's buggered. And in the absence of having somebody quick at the side of him, it's a liability leaving him like that. And it's not his fault. That's selection.
That was going to be my point. You need somebody quick at either side. Either when we got the Triple H factor, there were no problems.
No,
because we got one either side.
If Hewitt was there, that's somebody that's quick and can help out. And obviously the young lad from Nottingham, when he's not injured, he's got a degree of mobility that, is worthwhile.
Text message.
We should never have got rid of Faz Rawson in my book, but no, I don't expect anybody else to agree with that one. Craig's gone. And that, I mean, we did the right thing in getting Narty.
Why am I leaving? Why am I leaving?
Don't switch me off. Don't switch me off. I'm sorry.
Do that. Oh dear. Right, shall we delve back into some more comments? By the way, I just realised that those listening to the audio version of this will have no idea what just happened. I threw my headphones down and walked off. Let's go back to some more comments. Jamie says, we play too square all the time. We need midfield players who can put a tackle in and a defender who can too. Adam says, the current is fine margins. It's a slight change in circumstances with injuries and availability, plus a real centre-back in January to turn the corner. In the new year, could be different. It could be a different picture with Johnson not back, sold for money. Tim says the whole defence problem has never been properly addressed while using Hawkins. Is Clough afraid to play young players, says Jamie. Tim adds, anybody would have been a good centre-forward, as we haven't played with one so far this season. I do struggle to think about when we've had the options there to play some real good attacking players in good forward positions, but we don't tend to do it. Roger says, I spoke about Law last season as he'd continued through and it's continued through this. If I was him, then I'd want another club. Yeah, absolutely. Think about his age and wanting to develop. Tim says, you don't get paid for the managerial decisions you make that Clough then follows following in the following game. Roger says they can't do any worse than play Gale and Law at the minute. Adam says, is that a text message? Adam says, Hawkins not fish nor fowl. 2 fouls at Wembley. I love Clive's analogies. Tim says, great rant, Clive. Agree almost 100%. as well. Yeah, keep your comments coming in and have your say on your team. Half time, by the way, in the Not Senior Cup game, where the Stags were 4-1 up, and the second half has just got underway with Rhys Oates and Lewis Page both making way for that one. So 45 minutes apiece for them in that one. We'll keep our eye on it throughout the rest of the podcast over the next half an hour or so. I want to go to some of Nigel Clough's comments from his press conference over the last couple of days. He says, we're not clinical enough, but unlucky. I don't think we are unlucky. I just think we are not clinical enough. And I think that comes down to the way we are. It goes a little bit back to the identity thing, Alan, for me, of last season. I think we've got to, taking Sheffield Wednesday out of the equation and Everton under 21s out of the equation as well, because of the two cup games. By the time the next league game comes around, we need to be in a position where we're in a settled formation with a settled team. We were good last season when we got on the crest of a wave because we had consistency. It's the same thing I mentioned the Salford documentary earlier on. They never progress because they never have consistency through their ranks. And at the moment, we lack it. And I don't think it is down to unavailability sometimes. I think it is down to trying to put pieces in a jigsaw which don't quite fit. I think we can find consistency if we go back to how we were. I think we should play 3 at the back at home if we've got the players available to do it. But away from home, especially against teams like Harrogate, we should be playing with a back 4, we should be playing direct, and we should be playing physical, because that, against teams like Harrogate, is how to win. Their central defensive midfielder, who was almost playing centre half, he's 2'4". You stick Hawkins up there on him or Bowery on him, he's out of the game within 2 minutes.
I thought it was Jeanette Cranky.
I feel a bit sorry for Bowery as well, because he's not half the player he was last year, and I don't think that's any fault of his own.
I'll say this, Alan, about Bowery and Akins. They're big units, but they're not aggressive enough. They get bullied.
I disagree with Akins. Akins can put it about a bit when he needs to.
Well, he was responsible for the breakdown in an attacking move in the middle of the park that led to their goal, and he got bullied off the ball by someone half his weight. Now, he didn't get up. He complained. He complained on the floor instead of getting up and racing after it, trying to correct his error.
I want to jump in for a second, because that is half the issue as well, because we have this thing of moaning about referees a lot. Clough, Garner does do it a lot. We've heard it a lot in the evening with this talk about referees. But the fact is, that is not going to be an instant fix. You have to change how you approach the game. And the case in point was the goal where Akins gets bullied off the ball. He's on the floor, he's remonstrating, he's wanting a free kick. He's not going to give it. Play to the whistle. We all seem to stop and then don't react. You have to play to the whistle. If you play to the whistle, we don't concede that goal.
I'll just be devil's advocate here. With the team that he put out on Saturday then, where would you have played them in that position, assuming, that they were the only 11 players that he'd got feasible to actually start the game?
Right, well, I need to look
what would have been your team?
Give me a second to look for the starting lineup, because I want to make sure that I get it correct. So if I've got it written down in front of me on paper, I can tell you exactly how I'd have.
You're assuming that we would have chosen the same 11 that he did to start the game.
But what I was saying is,
that's what I'm saying, because that's what he chose. The players that he'd got, in his opinion, like Hewitt wasn't fit enough.
I definitely started with Hewitt, that is a fact.
Yeah, but he wasn't fit enough for 90 minutes. So I'm saying that the 11 players that actually were on the tip, apart from number 2, Ryan Hartigan. Did you see team sheet?
I did, yeah, it was laughable. Right.
Number 2, Ryan Hartigan.
And Alan, while I've got your attention, can I just say that you are wonderful as an announcer compared to that piece of dollop that announces at Harrogate. The man's so full of himself. Their PA system is loud enough to make your ears bleed. And he made a right cock up with one announcement. He was announcing a substitution in the 96th minute. Oh, no, 76th minute. No, 96th minute. Oh, he went to pieces. It was the 86th minute, as it happens. But he's got one of those voices that you just want to plug.
Yeah, well,
Anyway,
that's your opinion.
you know, some people have faces you just want to slap. Well, he got a voice you just wanted to plug.
Right, I have my answer for you, Alan.
Here we
Okay,
go.
thank you.
It's if so you're saying that if they're the 11 players that I have to start because
Yeah,
of circumstances and situation, it would have been solved by one simple switch. It's called formation,
yeah,
right? I would have played obviously Pim in goal, but I'd have
yeah,
gone for a back four. Perch played right back at the very top level, right? Playing right back. O'Toole, Hawkins together at centre half. O'Toole much more comfortable playing in a 2 than he is in a 3. I say it week in, week out. Wallace at left back. All
yeah.
right, there's some people that disagree with Wallace at left back, but we're
Well,
playing devil's advocate.
it's the only choice we'd got.
Yeah.
Hobson's choice.
Hartigan then sits in front of the back four in a 4-1-3-2 formation. Then it's Boateng, Maris and Quinn in midfield, with Quinn supporting Wallace down the left-hand side, with Bowery and Akins up front. Job done, see you later. Where's my money?
Well, I haven't got a problem with that. I haven't got a problem with that at all. I would like to see Barry up front where he belongs, because I think that's where he needs to play.
It just made no sense in putting Bowery at right wing back for that game. Again, if you put Bowery and Akins together as a pair, yes, you're thinking, right, we've got two physical lumpit strikers. We've not really got anybody that's going to run in behind, but that's what Marison is there for. That's what Boateng's there for. That's what Quinn can get forward and do. And therefore, it takes their 2-foot central defensive midfielder, who, by the way, bosses the show week in, week out, because no one's got the balls to go in and clatter him out of the game.
And he was on a yellow, weren't he? After about 10 minutes. Yeah. No, Barry's got some pace, remember?
He has.
When he needs to, he can shift.
He has indeed. Oh, dear. Do you know what? We can laugh all we want, but we're not football managers. And,
No, exactly.
I sometimes, they must listen to this podcast at points and go, what the hell are they talking about? And, we've got our right to an opinion, and it is all opinion-based. We might have done that, and Clough might have done that, and then we might have got tonked 4 or 5-0, and then we turn around and say, well, why has he not played 3 at the back? You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. But what underlying in it all, Clive, is we just want to see a little bit more effort, a little bit more consistency, and it being a little bit more tighter than what is fast becoming a broken sieve-like defence with the pace of a retired tortoise with one leg.
Yeah, just putting that aside, the tired, slow defence and the 3 goals we shipped on Saturday, let's put that aside for a second. We have lost some momentum, and that's what's frustrated everybody. We had perhaps over-expectation this season. I don't think we should be guilty of being expectant, because we finished last season perilously close to getting what we aimed for. And we had such a lousy first third. Then logically, if you have a better first third, you should be where you were aiming for last season or better. And we have actually had a better first third. So all is not lost, but it's just the feeling we're all getting that the trajectory is wrong. And it's things that are annoying us that we can see, or believe we can see, that the manager doesn't actually see or doesn't agree are important. I think somebody on here said that why didn't he play Jason Law at left back? I'd have gone along with that. I think Jason Law needs to be used.
I've said that a time or two when Macca were injured, before Wallace came along. Jason
Law was not injured, so he was one of the few on the bench that was completely ready. And yet he only brought him on grudgingly, as in my view. And I think he's preparing him now for the shop window. I think he'll go in the January window. And I think I'll be very saddened by that, but I think I'll be pleased for the lad, because he needs to get out of this club. Unless there's a radical change of thought, he needs to get out. And he's the longest serving.
Ironically, yeah, he is. And he's the player who's probably played the fewest games out of.
And, we've had some bad times. We had a bloody awful Irish manager that came under the wrong circumstances and turned out to be hopeless in the post. He's now down at Newport doing quite well, apparently. But what he did, he actually recruited well. And I think my biggest criticism of this regime we now have, and it's quite lofty as a regime. It's a broadly based management team we've got. I think a luxuriant management team for a League Two team like ours is that they haven't recruited half as well as they should have done. And given we have a permanent professional recruitment person on the books. I don't know where you get payback on that. I really can't see it myself. But I don't see behind the scenes, as you will tell me, Alan. And this might be like one of those swans that don't appear to be working very hard, but the legs are flapping wildly under the waterline. It may well be there's an awful lot of work going on, and come January, we'll all reap the benefit of that. Let's see.
I doubt it. I'm in agreement with Clive. I think we've got too many cooks in the kitchen. I think we've got Clough has built up this luxury backroom team around him, and sometimes I just think there's a little bit too much going on. And if you're going to put a recruitment team in place, I think you live or die by the players you recruit. Boateng's come in. He was a highly rated player, and he got a little bit injured at the start of the season. He's come back in now. He's trying to get game time. We bring Hartigan and he starts off well, and he's dropped off because they don't play well together. We've got too many players in the midfield areas. We've not recruited strikers well enough. We've not recruited defenders well enough. I know we've probably working on a budget, and we've got things like that to consider. We've got to get rid of some players before we can bring in other players. But I don't know. I just think
there's another factor here. I agree that the club is obviously trying to work a responsible budget, and like every other club in the league, they've had a difficult time because of COVID. There's no question about that, and that has set most clubs backwards. But not all are behaving in the same way, and that's fine. Where I would like to just point out is our gates are about 100% up on what they were before COVID.
Probably more,
and that brings money into the club. That the amount of shirts that they're selling brings money in the club, and they keep running out of stock, so there must be people buying them. And there's all sorts of things that are better financially than they were. I don't think commercially the club's found its feet yet. I don't think it's got to full speed. There's been changes of personnel, so you've got to accept it'll slow down a bit. But there's so many commercial opportunities that get wasted in our club. But we are in a stronger position than we were. But I don't know whether that can sustain the backroom staff that Mr. Clough has with him. Back in my day, you'd have a manager and a man with a bucket. And that was it.
I think it's all about sort of seeing the results. We said for a long time that it was a process. I think, and this was my fear at the start of the season, and I made no secret about it a number of times during pre-season. We went from having no expectations because of where we were under Coughlin and what mess we were in, to now getting to the playoff final and being so close to League One. Cheers, Ollie Hawkins. Although, let's be honest, we'll never get promoted as soon as Port Vale got through their semi-final. And now our expectations have gone from nothing and enjoying the ride to, all of a sudden we want to go one better and be in the top three, because Nigel Clough was asked the question, where do you want to be? And he said, well, we want to go one better than last season. What one better than last season is automatic promotion. When he was asked the same question the season before, it was, we are going to try and get promotion. And the emphasis was on try. Expectations and Mansfield Town fans do not go hand in hand. It's a repelling magnet.
Well, look at the fans forum and the question I asked right at the end of the forum. And what did all the three people say?
Is that the one where Garner didn't want to answer it?
No.
Or the other one?
No, that was the other one.
I genuinely thought he was going to get off the Brazil at one point.
No, I asked him, I said, if you got a free £50 bet, where would you put it? And where would Mansfield Town finish at the end of the season? And they all said top three.
And that's not impossible.
No, it didn't. There's only 18 games.
Less likely than it was.
I'm going to interject. It is if we keep playing like we did at bloody Harrogate. We can't do that every week.
Well, I don't think we can play like that again, in fairness.
The problem, I mean, I could spark another rant here. And
why don't you? That's what it's for.
All right, I will. Be honest, hand on heart, do you think this season, in the games that we've won, that we've actually outplayed a team and walked off the pitch thinking, do you know what, this is a really, really good side? Have you had the feeling that you had last season in terms of our energy and our capability to beat teams? Because I can honestly say, I haven't.
No, I agree with you, Craig. We've scrambled wins.
I have occasionally.
Ironically, we played one team off the park and lost. That was very early in the season. In in London.
Leighton Orient.
Leighton Orient. How we didn't win that game, God only knows. And everybody who was that game witnessed an improbable outcome. But these things are going to happen, I guess. But we've not torn anybody apart like we were capable of doing last season.
That's my point.
And that's because we haven't had the strikers potency, I think, as much as anything. You know, at the beginning of this season, I said very, very confidently we should win this league, or we certainly get promoted, because of the real quality we have in our midfield. And I still believe those players I was thinking about at the time are the backbone of our side. I know you agree with me on that, Alan, that, you know, they're there, and if they're very available and fit, they should always be written in fairly quickly on your team sheet. And you build around them.
The problem with that is the way Clough is set up with the three at the back, the 3-5-2 or whatever. That doesn't allow that midfield space to be fluid like they were, and as adventurous and as prolific and as effective. That's the word I was looking for. As last season.
Are you in favour of the diamond formation then, Craig? Or the double inverted dodecahedron? Because I mean, I just think football gets too complicated at times.
Listen, I understand why Clough went for 3 at the back with wing backs, because it is effective in this league against certain teams, and certainly at home when we had the unbeaten run and that fear factor about teams coming to One Call Stadium, I was bang up for that. And I say this is as a underlined, bold, high, big font, as you like, caveat, with the correct personnel in the correct positions. If you've not got those available, it should not be played. And our identity and why we were so good last season is playing with a solid back 4 and then allowing the midfield to be creative. The formation of 3 at the back swamps the midfield, and it doesn't allow those midfield players who we've said constantly are the heartbeat of our side, the engine of our side, to act like an engine. What it puts them as is almost like a Flintstone-style feet on the floor. They'll get going if it's downhill, but uphill, they've got no chance.
I've always said, and you'll back me up on this, about 4-4-2. I've always said I'd like to see Mansfield, any team, play. If I was a manager, providing I'd got the players, I would play, play 4-4-2. But I was getting, moved across to the 3 at the back because when we had Triple H, but that was the only reason. Get 4-4-2, and I think it's a solid, a solid statement where you can have 4-4-2, providing, like you said, you've got the players in the positions.
I mean, when we have played teams that on paper are inferior by talent to us, what have they done? They've put 4-4-2 in place.
Yeah.
2 strong banks of 4. If you look at Hartlepool, how did they get away with their visit to the mill recently? They just had 2 very solid banks of 4. Curly got them working well, and they pressed and they pressed, and they beat us because of that. They didn't beat us, but they defied us.
Yeah.
And I think you're right, Alan. If you've got no better ideas, and I'm not saying that in a negative way, 4-4-2 is a starting point. You can then look at your midfield and see how well they cope with 3 and go for 4-3-3 or whatever. Or you can stretch it forward and backwards into a diamond. However you do it, I think unless you've got flamboyant and very agile wing backs, we shouldn't be running with a 3 at all.
Completely agree. I think another thing to look at as well is if you look at how we were successful last season, it is by playing fluid football and not having fear going forward. We have a fear going forward at the minute. We play too many extra passes. We don't take shots. We don't get balls into the box. Is that because we're missing outs? There's a possibility
that was going to be my point, Greg.
There is a possibility of that. But you've got Will Swan, who, all right, he's ill more times than anything else. But
sick note.
You've still got players in there who are creative enough and who are good enough to play in forward attacking positions. We just don't attack enough. We were good last season in terms of going into games. We always knew when we went into a game that if we lost a game, it would be by a narrow margin, and we'd come off the pitch having given it a bloody good go. Far too many times this season, we've walked away thinking, why on earth have we wasted our money on that? And that becomes a problem. But the only reason we say that is because our expectations are from here, down at the bottom, raised to the top bar again. There is no middle ground. It is so frustrating because I feel like an absolute arsehole, because in a week or so, if we get a good couple of runs together, we'll all be sitting here saying, yeah, everything's good, everything's great. But
that's because it's an emotional game, and we react to situations emotionally. That's nothing wrong with that.
But the crux,
you don't always get it right. We sometimes react completely wrongly. I mean, that's down to ignorance as much as anything. And I'm more than happy to say I got that wrong. Just want somebody to prove it.
The point, yeah, exactly. But I think the overarching point is, before we move on to our next topic, final word on this, Alan, is the fact that our expectations have moved, and collectively, you've seen that in terms of the number of people going to away games. SSA are regularly filling 2 or 3 coaches per away game now, rather than struggling to fill one. Season ticket sales have soared up, shirt sales, etc., soared up. There's been a big uplift in support for Mansfield Town Football Club, but Mansfield Town Football Club, as a squad, as a depth, as a movement on the pitch, haven't moved with us. And that's the problem. The expectation is there, the ability is not quite in line with it yet.
Yeah, we've just got to give it a chance. In my opinion, we've just got to give it a chance.
I don't want to argue. I don't want to argue with you because you're Santa. But we can't. No, we can't. Yes, we've got to give it a chance, but also we can't afford to do what we did last season, and that's give it chance game by game. We had the chance in the summer to evolve. At this point now in the season, we should know what trajectory we're on. The trajectory we're on at the moment is a lie detector test. It's trying to find the balance, and at some point it's going to plummet. I can't see where we're going to go on the uplift unless I give up. I'm out. Mansfield doesn't matter anymore. I'm done.
No, but on the same basis, Craig, all right, you get to January and we're still 8th, 9th, whatever. And Nigel Clough has got 2 people that he's got in mind, right? He's got 2 centre-backs, 2 lovely youngish lads.
Get them both.
Now, about 24 years old, whatever. They've been playing reasonably well wherever they've played, and Nigel's managed to get them. He brings them in. He puts Hawkins up front with Oates, possibly. And these lads take time. They're going to take time, unless they're lucky, to bed in, right? What happens if they don't bed in? And we've got, 2 lads there, 2 young lads who's put O'Toole possibly and somebody else out of their playing positions that's playing at the moment. It's just a matter of wait and see what happens.
But I don't want to wait and see. We should be here now. Yeah. We were that far away from promotion, for God's sake.
Yes, last year. But nothing stays the same, Craig, does it?
It should, though, shouldn't it?
Who would have put Saudi Arabia to beat Argentina today? Hands up.
I mean, whoever did has just cashed in. So.
Exactly. Things happen. We'll see what happens in January if need be.
The bottom line here, fellas,
let's get Clark back. Let's get the others back.
The bottom line is, Mr. Clough.
We can come on here again. We'll see what we're talking then.
Mr. Clough places great store by having a clean sheet, because with a clean sheet you can't lose.
Yeah.
And I've become incapable lately of expecting a clean sheet, with exceptions.
I'm going to say with exceptions.
Well, I mean, we got one at Rochdale, didn't we? And I think, we could claw out. I mean, we were clawing out to wins. We won at Barrow with a clean sheet. We won at Rochdale with a clean sheet. They were lousy games.
Yeah, but again, we're not turning teams over. We're not
like
Rochdale. We should be turning them over. Barrow, we should be going there and get into it. We far too often we're not prolific enough. But I don't know. I want to stop this debate now. Because,
all right, stop.
It's because some of it's going to come back and bite us on the backside, isn't it? But do you know what? That's all about what it's all about. I think, to be honest, I'm letting a bit of my normal anger get out today. But there you go.
It's just opinions.
It is opinions. Football is a game of opinions.
It is.
And Nigel Clough could be listening to this and turn around and say, well, you slagged us off for not being, potent enough in front of goal. Yet Jordan Barry's just bagged a 5th at Notts County. So there you go. We're now 5-1 up in that one. Final comments on that. Richard says, our expectations should be high. Off the field, we have a great investment. We are getting over 6,000 for home matches, best chairman in all 4 divisions, and a good manager. How many times do we give it a chance? Should be flying this season. O'Toole needs to get a haircut, says Roger. His long hair has made him soft.
He's just
Your words, Roger. Not mine, but I do agree that he needs to get a trim. Right, let's move on to any other business. We've spent far too long having rants tonight. We've been saying for weeks that we need to bring extra bodies in to get us a little bit of strength in depth. We've done that. Lewis Page signs on a month-long deal, similar to O'Toole last season. So we'll have him till the end of December sort of time. I felt he played relatively okay in bad circumstances at wherever it was on Saturday at Harrogate. He's played 45 minutes at Notts County tonight. Probably won't play, I wouldn't imagine, at Sheffield Wednesday on Saturday, but we'll see him at Everton. I think it's good that we've added some experienced left-footed balance in there, Clive, someone who can actually play in the left-back and left wing-back position and also can play left-side centre-half. Options.
Yeah, he got thrown in the deep end at Harrogate, though, didn't he?
Mm.
I think I understand taking him on, and clearly they've not taken a huge financial risk in only giving him a month. And he has that time to prove himself. But he's apparently trained with the squad for 2 weeks prior to that anyway.
Yeah.
So they got a fairly good feel for the lad, and I think that's a good idea. And if we do an O'Toole with him, then I'm happy with that. But we have to, between now and the January window, we have to find a solution to this, and that's going to be reliant on players playing as well as they know they can, and stupid mistakes being wrung out of the back line, and hopefully some of these fragile players will heal up.
Yes, indeed. Alan, quickly, your thoughts on Mr. Page?
Well, from what I saw and what I heard, I thought he did reasonably well. Because, he came on in the second half, kept a clean sheet, albeit we were 3-0 down anyway, but there was no goals scored in the second half, so you can say theoretically it helped do his job.
We were a better side in the second half, anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I like about Alan. He always brings a positive spin to everything that's negative. So there you go, Mr. Positivity. Right, talking about Mr. Positivity, he's still top of the podcast predictions leaderboard, by the way, although his joint points with other people will reveal who in our episode before Christmas, which we've still got a few weeks left. In fact, we'll give you a table update next week at the end of November, see how standings are going then. Sheffield Wednesday, though, up on Saturday in the FA Cup. We've taken on League One sides before, and we've conquered League One sides before in the FA Cup. Let's put things right from Harrogate. And Alan, let's kick us off with this week's podcast predictions.
I'm going to go 1-1.
Ooh, okay.
19th minute.
Okay, Clive, over to you.
My first ever away game for Mansfield Town was Sheffield Wednesday away in the fourth round of the FA Cup back in 90, whatever it was. We lost that game 4-0. I think we'll lose this one 4-0.
Okay, right.
And the first goal will be in the 11th minute.
Okay. I have to... pessimistic Craig is back. I am also going to go for an FA Cup exit. Not at the same sort of level. I think we will lose 2-1. The first goal will come in the 7th minute. I think it'll be an early goal. And don't forget, if you want to play along with podcast predictions, you need to do so via the link in the description. Right, very, very quickly, let's talk all things SSA and away travel. Lots of coaches, Clive, going to be there on Saturday to Sheffield Wednesday. It'll be a bumper crowd. I think they've even added some more tickets on sale.
Am I right in thinking we've got a coach to look after, Craig?
Yeah, we have. Yeah, so if you get an our coach, behave. So there you go. Yes, there are. We do have the pleasure of doing that. We've got some certain things to tell you about on that as well. I'm going to get the details up on my phone in a second. Tickets also on sale, Alan, for Everton. There you go, on sale, yes. I believe, tonight. And I have to say, again, as much as people perhaps slate the competition and things like that, it's one of those. It's one of those. Right. You've done it absolutely spot on. Yeah.
Yeah. For a fiver.
Yeah, 5 and 3, isn't it? Which is really, 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 really good.
They're just hoping to get bums on seats, won't they?
Absolutely, absolutely. Right.
Well, there's a fair few want to go from Mansfield, I think.
Yeah.
Right, of course. Right, so let's tell you a few details for the trip to Sheffield Wednesday. Then if you're travelling with the SSA, of course, Sandy's will be open from 10 a.m, serving breakfast cobs. Travel for SSA members, all SSA members is a tenner, and you must produce your SSA membership card before boarding the coaches. Clive is going to be very strict on our coach. No card, no cash payment of a tenner. That's what you're going to implement that, aren't you, Clive?
Unless they give me some chocolate.
Okay, yeah, I'm open to bribery as well. So make sure you bring your membership card. The club car park will be very busy as well. We expect that there's going to be extra limited spaces with probably the monthly driving school there as well. So if you are travelling and you can get there together, please do that. And also as well, due to the mass amount of people that are going to be travelling, the SSA are kindly asking that you do not rush towards the coaches. Volunteers will be on hand to direct you towards a coach where a steward will collect your travel fee prior to boarding the coach. All SSA coaches are family friendly and no alcohol is permitted. Please listen to instructions from SSA volunteers who are on hand to help and get coaches loaded quickly and safely. Abuse towards volunteers will not be tolerated. Reminder that coaches leave at 12 noon for Sheffield Wednesday. All SSA members travel for a tenner on production of your membership card. Non-members travel for £20. If you want to travel with us to Everton, departure from One Call Stadium is 2:15 p.m. on Wednesday the 30th of November. Amber members and junior members travel for £15. Blue members are £20. Non-members are £25. And if you want to book a seat, here's what you do.
You ring 079 or text, is it? 07967 689 597.
You can
Don't
ring or text.
Don't ring. Please don't ring. Text.
No, text, is it?
Yeah, you can ring or text, but prefer text is preferable. Right, we'll run. Sorry, I'm Clive. Carry on. Go on.
I was just going to say, the person on the end of that telephone line gets swamped by phone calls. It's not fair on them. She's a volunteer. She does her best. Much better if you text it, because they're automatically recoverable, so she can get back to people in a methodical way.
Absolutely. And a reminder as well, please don't message the SSA or leave comments trying to book a place, because you won't get a place booked. Messages aren't monitored. Comments don't work. It's a little bit like playing podcast predictions. Excuse me, on here. If you enter in the comments, it doesn't work. You must text or call, preferably text, on this number from Alan Wilson if you missed it.
07967 689 597.
Superbly done. Right, anything else you want to rant about before we leave?
Now, what's latest score, please? Still 5-1.
5-1, 74 minutes played in that account. I
think we might be progressing in that competition, don't you?
I think we will.
It could be a good confidence boost.
Well, it's good to have a game like that at this time. Yeah. It really is. And likewise, these two cup competitions couldn't have come at a better time, because to a certain extent, you approach the games differently and take some of the pressure away from the horrible post-match feeling of losing badly against a team you should have beaten in the league.
Oh, and I think if we're lucky enough to progress against Everton under-21s, I think the draw's this coming Thursday at 4:30 on Sky.
What, against Everton? What, in the Papa John's?
Yeah, I think it's this Thursday, the 24th.
I was going to say, because you were talking about not senior cup for a minute. I was saying, when a not senior cup got to deal with Sky?
It's close to it's the day after our game, because our game got put back, didn't it? Game.
Yeah. The request.
That's good. We don't have to wait too long to know who we might have been playing.
Optimism.
Look at what you would have won.
All right, Jimbo, pop down. What is it? Stay out of the red. Start of the black and in the red. Or no, start of the red and in the black.
Game for two in the bed.
That's the one.
It's a speedboat, Jim.
That's it. You get nothing for a pair, not in this game. I know that's play your cards right, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right. I'm going to go because my mind's gone, to be honest. We've had a rant.
TV programs.
We've got some stuff out of our system.
Again, are we all positive about the future? Yes, we are.
Of course we are. You know,
definitely.
We only have a rant. We only get things out of a system because deep down Mansfield always matters. Win, lose or draw, we're going to back the team wherever we are. So just put it right on the bloody pitch, please. 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 Goodbye. Well, that's all we've got time for tonight on the Mansfield Matters podcast. My thanks, as always, to the panel and for you guys at home for getting involved. We'll be back on probably Sunday or Monday as we look ahead to the trip to Everton in the Papa John's Trophy and the knockout stages of That Is Wembley on the cards. We're going to turn our fortunes around, or are an under-21s team going to knock us out of the competition on a very big stage? But before we can worry about pizza, we've got to worry about the FA Cup and taking on a League One opposition. There's going to be a lot of Stags fans travelling to that one. It will be a packed away end at Hillsborough, so make sure you make some noise. And of course, get involved with podcast predictions. The Stags have done it before by taking out League One teams. Can they do it again and turn their fortunes round after, let's face it, a miserable few weeks for watching the Stags? As always, you know what you need to do by now. The link is in the description, and you must do it no later than 1 hour and 1 minute before kick-off on Saturday afternoon. Thanks as always for watching, for listening. Make sure you give it a like, a subscribe, share, tell all your friends all about it. This is the show for the fans, by the fans. This is the Mansfield Matters podcast. We'll see you next time.